Hello, 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 and welcome back to the table. This is Robert James Fremantle, and I'm going to update you on what happened next with our Dragon Age crew. And this is going to be another one of those one-take type videos, simply because we still have the tech problems going on, so I'm recording via these means, so there we are. Okay, so it might not take very long actually, because it was essentially just the fight and then just a little bit of other stuff that happened. So they had to run back and get to the Spider Blood Reaver Queen before the darkspawn could. Now they were going to have to face darkspawn forces anyway at the point, but the amount of darkspawn forces that were present were going to be based on how expedient our group could be. So if they the normal amount of darkspawn ogres, for example, were going to be 4. Yes, I know, 4 simultaneous ogres, pretty bad, right? But that's, you know, only if they didn't leave right now. So they left right now, and it was a more expensive ship, so it meant they were going to face 3 ogres instead simultaneously, because it would take time for them to summon up the ogres and actually get them into position. And then they decided to take the quicker ship, which was even more expensive, to the Amaranthine and get off there. It was going to just cost more, which now means that they'll only be facing like 2 ogres or whatever, right? And then they had an opportunity to bring that 2 down to 1 by taking the extremely fast coach travel that had a guard detail on it all the way up to the mountains, which they did, which brought them pretty much down to 1. And then there were going to be things to try and hold them up even more going on. And there was an interesting Avarian detail in the mountains, and they were guarding one of the crossing passes. And funnily enough, they were Redhold Avars, and of course Karak is the Redhold shaman. And they said, alright, you lot can pass, but him, he's not of our hold, and he's an Avar, so Avars have to pay tax to Redhold to pass through this area. You see Redhold expanding out, again, you know, becoming more and more menacing to the area, more and more powerful, claiming dues, and you know they're spreading their threat all around the upper northern region, and it's soon probably going to come to a point where the other tribes are going to need to pay a tithe just to remain untouched in your normal sort of barbarian type way, much like the Vikings operated, that they kind of assumed that they'd roll up menacing and they'd get paid off to not hurt you, you know, protection racket in an old-fashioned manner. Giant mug for the win. Right, so as I've said before about the giant mug, the Water Whopper, is I don't know who's more mad really, the person who bought it for me or me for actually using it for cups of tea and such. And I have filled it right up before. It makes about 2.5 cups of tea, just so that you know, in one go. But normally I sort of go about a third, you know, when I want to be a bit sane, mostly. So they ended up paying the tax, but Karak didn't like it, and he said, look, this isn't right, you know, I'm the shaman of Redhold, why is he having to pay a tax to go through? And they said, well, you know, every Avar has to now, that's the new Redhold law. And he said, by who? You know, surely I'm the leader of Redhold. And they said, no, you're the shaman, you're one of the elder advisors, but, you know, it still goes to the Thane, who is our leader. And he said, well, I'll be having words with him and such. So it's just another piece of information of what's happening in the area. And of course the War of the Axes is on, so we have the chastened people, and they're pushing up from the south and, you know, entering the mountains. And at the moment we've got the winter coming on, and we're into the winter, so the Avars are all over them, and the Avars are taking the fight to the Chastened. The Chastened can't take any territories at all. There are no Avar to cut down on the exterior sections because they've done all their gathering for the year, and they've holed back up in the holds. And the chastened can't penetrate any of it, and of course, it's winter time. The weather's harsh for them. They're trying to live in caves because they're effectively homeless. They've been pushed north by the darkspawn. If you've been following what's going on, the rising tempo of the blight, and they're having to rough it there in the mountains right now, and the cold's killing a lot of them. And when the Avars do come along and run through the mountain passes and try and find the hiding chastened in the area, they're cutting them down. But very often what's happening is that the type of chastened they're meeting right now aren't the fighting type. So either they've all been killed off, or they've retreated back somewhere and are building up their forces in a coordinated manner, ready to strike. But yeah, the Avars are basically coming into contact with just pure citizen types. If there could be such a thing as a citizen type within those southern people, and it's maybe the older people, or married couples, or maybe farmers, workers, labourers, types like this. The women and children, they're encountering people like that and slaughtering them, I might add. The Avars, hold no bones on that one, slaughtering them. And I mean, in that respect, though, they've been left with poisons, and from the chasten's point of view, that even a woman can be extremely dangerous. Even a washer lady can be a threat to an Avar warrior, because if she's given a small dagger with a sheath filled with poison, and she only needs to scratch the Avar with it. That's as it was explained. So lying in hiding and coming out and scratching the foe. And yes, he might run her through and run through her husband, but he's just been nicked on the arm or nicked on the face or something. She's got one last sort of lashing on him before as he run her through, and so then it's a 1-for-1 type casualty. So they might have their peasantry around, their civilians, so to speak, but boy, they are dangerous too. So there have been some Avar losses even during the winter. Luckily, of course, that our party dealt with the terrible yellow rager type condition that was going on, that were making maddened stalkers of the chastened variety, or else it could have been that poison being used in creating Avar zombies all across the entire mountainous area. Of course, if we actually future project into what would have happened had the party actually failed in that mission. It was one of the earlier ones, wasn't it, in the Blood in Ferelden module, the second adventure, wasn't it, where they had to recover the Shadow Moss. If they'd have failed that adventure, and the Amber Rage would have continued being prominent across the lands, then it could well have been entering the Frostbacks. You would have had possibly Avar zombies coming back and attacking the Chastened, and Chastened zombies coming back attacking the Avar. So then you would have had whole zombie armies attacking Avar holds, and Avar zombies trying to push the Chastened out. It would have been bonkers. And the living on both those sides trying to survive too. But the living of that kind would have at least been able to work with the undead versions of that kind as well. And for every kill they'd take, of course, they'd spread the disease that bit further. That would have been really nasty. But it's that kind of problem that Ferelden doesn't need. But again, we ask the question, where were the Avars during the Blight? what were the consequences of the Blight actually coming from the south first. No, I'm dealing with that. This is the War of the Axes going on. So the Avars are very much winning, cutting them down. But even if you know, a guy, he cuts down 6 peasants, you know, that 6th one only gets a little nick on his skin with some poison, and you know, he'll fall. It doesn't matter how strong he is, he'll fall and become helpless like a baby. So yeah, it's very bloodthirsty there. Anyway, they're going through that, the northern range, away from all of that at the moment, and you know, who knows at what point Tanador's going to feel the, you know, the connective need to his hold in the south there, Tiger Hold, to have to rush back and help them. But right now they're sitting pretty. They're not under attack. They're fine. And there's just a few scouts from other holds going out and just attacking here and there. So they paid the money anyway. It was only small. It was only something like 50 silver to get Tanador through the pass. And they carried on, rushed their way to the spot where they knew the Spider Queen Lass was, because obviously they'd uncovered her. And they saw some people coming on the ice. Over, obviously it's snowing. It's, you know, in the mountains. It's in the winter. And it was darkspawn coming. Karak could sense that, being a Grey Warden as he is, and there was a large one with them. So it was a Herlock Alpha leading a number of Herlocks, obviously a massively reduced number because the party are there in good time, and they were actually ahead of the darkspawn. So they had a choice at this point: do we push on down into the lair of the Spider Queen and try and slay her now, or do we wait for these lot and deal with them first? So they were all about thinking about trying to beat them to her and getting down there now. But of course, if the fight down there was too delayed and the whole thing took too long, then perhaps the darkspawn might arrive and actually join in the fight. So they had to tactically think it all through. You know, could they deal with them coming in, and who would the darkspawn side with? Who would they fight against? That probably, in all likelihood, it would have been an all against all. But you know, with the last of her presence, she sent her envoy out to ask for help, and now she's completely mad with the taint. So it's possible that she something might have happened during the fight where she stopped fighting them, you know, and started siding with them. She's a very, very powerful being, and now, having been affected like this, and having also consumed darkspawn flesh, as she has, she's going demented, and she's actually become more powerful. So they decide to wait for the darkspawn anyway. So the Herlocks and the Alpha turn up, and they've got one ogre with them. So that's a lovely fight, and he arrives on like turn 3 or something. The party really held themselves well and took them down. The ogre was hitting hard, and he did a great job for himself. And it just proves just how powerful they can actually be and how frightening they can be. But again, you know, this party are able to deal with what may at first appear to be, you know, impossible to kill bosses as well. That's just what they can do. So then there was no real problems, no casualties taken. Ash decided to try and tank things in this, so that was his opportunity to get in the spotlight. Laurie's still playing as Costello, of course. Pete not with us with a new character yet, not having rejoined the group as a player currently. They make their way down into the place. The darkspawn couldn't stop this group. I don't know if anything can stop this group, even this monstrously dangerous thing. And they discover a sort of pit thing in the middle, and they throw a stone Tanadil does. He throws a stone over the edge of the pit, and it almost hits whoever's down in the pit. And a woman's voice comes up, and they look over, and it's some woman that's tangled up in web. She doesn't look so great, and she's asking for help. She says she's trapped. She says they're going to come back, and something is squirming underneath her, underneath the thick webbing, almost as if it is like sort of lots of spider things under there. And they come up with this idea quickly of, chucking some rope down. Karak does shape earth and makes some stone steps that lead down into the thing, and he walks down those down to her, and he cuts her free, and then he sets the webbing on fire, because he can make his palm kind of create a little bit of burn. So he starts the web alight, and the spiders are freaking out, and he does a mind blast on the bottom of the web, which knocks some of them down off. And they are giant spiders in of their own right that have been put into epic type status. And then they start crawling up the cavern, and he makes his way back up, and they all pull her on the rope and start pulling her up out of the pit. And he's backing up the stone steps and mind blasting spiders back down again, and they're trying to come back, and he's mind blasting them down. And the group are waiting at the top. They finally pull the woman up to the top, and Karak doesn't trust it. He says, I'm not so sure about her. Tells Blacktail, look, get her scent, see who she is. Does she look like the Spider Queen's human form last time? And I said, no, you can't discern that they are the same person. But the problem was, this was the Spider Queen. This was her. And what's happened is she can take various different human forms, but the problem is that where she's now gone insane, she's for a moment forgot her own identity, and she actually believes everything she's saying, that she is the captured victim, that she is afraid that the beasts are going to come back for her. I mean, she's gone that mad, basically. It's in a scary, crazy way. So then Blacktail is trying to survey her, trying to figure out, is she the spider? What is she? Is she just a normal woman? By scent, trying to figure her out, and she starts sort of wandering away from him, and he sits there wondering sort of ponderously, and he starts to try and pad over and follow her. And meanwhile, while this is all happening, the giant spiders are coming out of the pit and starting to attack the group. So they're able to, push the group back, keep them back out of the fray, and then the group of spiders stop themselves getting overwhelmed. Positioning here is key, so they've positioned themselves in a sort of protective manner. But some of the spiders are going up round the sides of the pillars that go all the way up to the ceiling, so they're coming around and attacking from the sides. Some of the clothies some of the squishies who thought they were safe, as it were. But even our squishies can suddenly sort of like put out Hadouken, and suddenly the thing is dead. So very powerful team, guys, and they're just slaying spiders here, there, and everywhere. She disappears behind a rock. Blacktail follows around, and she's not there anymore. So that's kind of bad news. She's disappeared, and now she's turning back into full-on spider boss form, and she starts to web up the upper ceiling entrance way in. So there's going to be no way to run back out and get out easily. So then she finally appears in however many given amount of rounds, and you're dealing with her and spider ads as well, which is lovely. And she's very, very powerful. She's always using her stunt points, whatever, even if she doesn't proc a roll. And she's got her own stunts. She can shoot web, she can do all these other nice things. She can do a -4 dexterity poison effect, which she was doing, but it's not all that devastating in reality, because most things have a chance to hit anyway, unless of course you're a dexterity based class. But you know, if you're like a warrior or something like that, not so bad. And because you know, as just said, you know, most things are hitting you, and you're hitting most things in the mechanics of how Dragon Age works. It was an interesting fight. Elongated. Karak's there still as a healer. Castallo's coming forward still as a backup healer. You know, and it's, you know, again one of those cases of just about saving people's lives, keeping them in there. You know, that heal just in the nick of time, and fighting her with everything they've got. And she came down and she decided, you know, I want to eat so and so. I want to eat Ash here, so you know, I'm gonna go at him. And you know, she was doing this multi-leg stomp attack thing, and it can send people flying backwards and damaging them, and just all sorts of effects going on. But still, the party handled it, and it's not even like, oh, they needed a sort of demo attempt first, an audition attempt to get to know an enemy, or get defeated first in the typical kind of 60s Spider-Man meets a new villain way. No, they just go in and just kill things, you know. It's incredible. But of course, as previously said, I think they're too experienced at this crap. You know, they've been around the block too many times, and you know, you're dealing with some very smart players. So yes, they end her tormented life, as she really did want them to, even though she was too mad to let them at this point. And they managed to stop the creation of a new brood lord, and hence a new type of darkspawn, which would have been absolutely horrific, wouldn't it? A new kind of darkspawn that is based on spiders. But as it was, she already looked really nasty and desiccated, you know, glowing red, and you know, her children were looking tainted already and warped. So it was a very eerie encounter, and it would have been wonderful to see that actually portrayed, illustrated in a picturesque manner. You know, if there's any artists out there, please do feel free to submit your drawings of the party as you see them. That would be excellent. And you know, some of the famous scenes in the party's history, such as the defense of Redhold, the festival events perhaps, against the Ragers, you know, facing off against Lady Branty across a table, her sort of jutting her chin out defiantly, and knowing the confidence is still hers, you know, holding her wine glass and swishing it. You know, just any sort of image like that. These just little key flash images kind of capture our group's campaign as it's gone on all this time. And it's been a good one. I think we've been going, what, like about a year and a half? So yes, they kill her, and then they make their way out of the zone. I mean, it's unbelievable that they did it even as easily as they did, because you know, I thought they were going to at least struggle in some way. But then they come across a strange dwarf in a town, and this dwarf wants to sell them something, and you can see the other townsfolk kind of mocking to him. So this is sort of setting up the next one. We're going into a player created module here, one of the last ones that are knocking about on the block, actually, unfortunately. But and this one is called At Basilisk Fort. So ultimately the players are going to have a chance to purchase a keep, a fort. Yay! And there's a dwarf, and he wants to sell Basilisk Keep to anyone who will buy it for only 10 gold. And there's other people there, you know, they're coming along saying, oh, only 10 gold, you know, what gives, what's this? And he says, oh, I just want a good dowry, son. So I just need the money, and I don't use the fort, and it's just growing cobwebs, so you know, why not? But you know, the party think, there's more to this. So they paid the dwarf 1 gold just for him to take the time and bring them a map, and that's kind of like a down payment on potentially buying the fort. So 9 gold left to pay. So really, you know, it's just a case of what are they going to find there once they do arrive. And you know, I don't want to say on camera, but surely, you know, a 10 gold fort can't be all that it seems. But we will say this, that it's situated in an interesting place, because it's in a very defensible position, very near a massive defensible fortress. You might have heard of it. It's called Ostagar. Yeah, near Ostagar, you know, that would be a great place to have a fort, wouldn't it? Because, I mean, it's not like anything bad's about to happen, especially near Ostagar. So, you know, having a fort there would be excellent. Amazing test of player meta knowledge, hey? Don't you think? I do. So, we'll press on and we'll see what the deal is with Basilisk Fort as they continue on. And you know, guys, until next time, I'll see you at the table.